What's up, Tangerinis? Coming at you live from Morelia, Michoacan, but today we are talking about our time in Playa del Carmen, Cancun, Cozumel, Tulum, and all the many scams we faced while there. At the time that we flew into Cancun, we had been traveling through Mexico for almost a year and been to many cities in Mexico, so we had a pretty good idea of what things should cost, what to look out for, kind of like some of the scams that are out there, but even still, we were gotten a few times, and we don't want that to happen to other people. We want people who go to these beautiful beach cities to have an enjoyable time, keep their hard-earned money, and just make memories in Mexico.
And these scams are not going to stop if we don't shed light on it, so that's what we're here to do. In this video, we're going to go over every single scam that we personally experienced, and at the end of the video, we're going to share some steps that you can take to personally avoid the scams if you're going to these places.
In our Playa del Carmen, Tulum, and Cozumel videos, we mentioned some of these scams, and we got quite a few comments saying how cheap we were and didn't we expect there were going to be higher prices. Absolutely. In tourist towns, the prices are going to be much higher than in smaller Mexican towns, like Morelia, for instance, is a place with very affordable prices. But it's not about that. It's about being looked at like we're a walking checkbook, being constantly scammed, being given gringo prices, and people hoping that you'll fall into these tourist traps, and that's not okay.
So if you're vacationing in one of these Riviera Maya destinations, in all likelihood you're probably going to be flying into the Cancun airport. When you come out of the arrival section there, you are going to be mobbed with people trying to sell you stuff, especially overpriced taxis from the airport. This is one scam that we fell for, and this is how it all went down. We were on our way to Tulum from Cancun, and we were told that the best way to get there is to take the ADO bus, or in Spanish it's pronounced ADO. We didn't quite know the price, but then someone came up to us with a laminated price sheet. It looked official. She was saying, hey, a cab to Tulum is 1,600 pesos. I'm like, okay, how much is the ADO bus? So she pulls up her price sheet, and it says 400 pesos a person. Well, the real price of an ADO bus to Cancun is 252 pesos a person. So this lady is a scam artist. She has a fake price sheet.
With the prices that she had listed on this sheet, it really made it seem like it wouldn't be that much more to pay for this overpriced cab for the convenience factor of it, but in reality, the prices were just wrong, and we fell for it.
We ended up negotiating a little and got that for 1,400 pesos. But the whole cab situation did not end there.
So we paid our 1,400 pesos to this cab company. Jordan was repeatedly asking for a receipt, but it somehow conveniently slipped through the cracks and we never got one. Once we got on the inside of the cab, however, we all noticed that the door handles were broken. We couldn't get out.
All three of them, all three of our passengers.
Everything, it was very unsettling. And shortly after that, the cab driver asked where our receipt was. Well, we didn't have one. He freaked out, bolted from the car, and ran back to get our receipt. We started feeling like there's something weird going on. I don't know if they were trying to scam him, if this was a scam for us, like they would try to make us pay 1,400 pesos again. We don't really know. And there was another thing that was pretty weird about this situation. When we were getting into this taxi, there were like 3 or 4 people ushering us in and saying, just remember, tip isn't included in the price, which we thought was strange at the time, especially considering we've been told time and time again by Mexicans that it's not customary or expected to give a tip for a cab driver. And then the cab driver went on to say, yeah, $100 to $200 US dollar tip is about right, and we thought he was joking. But then he said it later on in the ride, and we're like, this guy is serious? He thinks 200 US... Anyway, makes me mad to this day. But then we arrived in Tulum. Based on the way the rest of this situation went, we decided let's just give him a 10% tip because we don't want any problems.
So after we gave him more than 10% tip, we gave him 150 pesos on a 1,400 peso cab ride. He freaked out.
Falta.
No, es más que 10%.
No, es 20%.
No.
Sí, dame 100 más. Es que sí está lejos.
No, no.
Ya pagué.
Por eso, pero sí está lejos. 50 pesos más, dame.
No.
Super rude. This guy was a huge jerk. So if you're flying into Cancun, what's your best option? Well, if you're staying in Cancun, arrange for your hotel to pick you up at the airport before you get there. Someone will be there holding a sign waiting for you, and then you'll avoid all of this altogether. But if you're going to Playa, Tulum, Merida, or any other city in that general vicinity, your best option is going to be to take the ADO bus.
If for some reason you can't or don't want to take our advice about not taking a cab from the airport, make sure to get your receipt, make sure to negotiate the price so you get the lowest price you possibly can, since they're gouging you in the first place, and don't let them take advantage of you. Don't let them push you around and make you think that you have to give them a tip. You do not. We have tons more coming up for you guys, so stick around, diving right into it now.
So in this trip, we did not experience any tourist traps or scams in Tulum. That might be because we weren't staying on the beach and we were staying in town. All of the scams started when we got to Playa del Carmen and then Cozumel.
The things that we're going to talk about coming up, we probably wouldn't even need to mention them if they were an isolated incidents, but because they happened over and over and over again with different restaurants in different parts of Playa del Carmen and in Cozumel, it's not an accident. It's a systemic problem. So one of the first things we dealt with was ordering food at a restaurant. It included guacamole, but I'm allergic to onions, so I ordered plain avocado instead of the guacamole. Well, they charged us for extra avocado even though it was a substitution. They tried to say that they gave us extra, and that wasn't the case. It took a while of arguing with them before they actually took it off of the bill, which is kind of ridiculous. If you ever make a substitution in Mexico, it's never at an extra charge.
So when we first got to Playa del Carmen, we realized that these prices are quite a bit higher than what we're used to paying. So we were naturally looking for drink specials. We wanted a margarita. So we're walking down 5th Avenue, and there's quite a few places that advertise 2-for-1 drinks. We went to a few of these places during our trip, and every time, without fail, the drinks had almost no alcohol, if any whatsoever.
Oh, and then the crazy part is that they said they included 2 ounces in each of these drinks.
And I know that I feel something if I have 2 ounces, and I had 2 2-ounce drinks, or supposedly, and I felt nothing at all. Yes, this is borderline tourist trap / scam. Don't fall for those 2-for-1 promotions.
Okay, so we need to clarify a little bit on this one, because in Mexico, a lot of people feel like they have to order bottles of water or else they're going to be served tap water. No restaurant is going to serve their customers tap water unless they want to make them all sick, so you don't need to worry about that. What you should order if you do not want a bottle of water is agua de garrafón, which is out of the big jugs of water. We did a whole video on this, we'll link it above. Well, in this case, we went to a restaurant, we ordered vasos de agua de garrafón, and he brought out bottles of water, which they sometimes do, thinking that tourists just want a bottle of water to be safe. That's understandable. We said, no thank you, we would like the vasos de agua de garrafón, and he swapped them out for glasses of water. Well, the problem came when we got the bill and we were charged 40 pesos each for 4 glasses of water. They made up some lame excuse.
She's like, how many waters? He's like, 4. Which type of water? Because we have a big canister where we like
Garrafón.
Yeah, garrafón. And he pointed that way. And that's why she charged, because he made a mistake. It's fairly new. They put all these waters, and when you put glasses of water, you don't put 1, 2, 3, 4 glasses of water.
But there was only one server servicing our table. It was all written by hand. It was not an accident. If you order water, it's free. You should not be charged. Don't fall for it. Unless you're ordering bottles of water, which is a different story.
And if you are charged for a glass of water, contest it.
Contest the bill.
The next item on the list is a tourist trap / scam, but this is also illegal in Mexico. Restaurants are not allowed to do this. It's against the law, and that is adding a tip to the bill. Something that some restaurants in Playa del Carmen will do is they'll have a line. It looks like it's just tax, but it'll say propina or servicio. For us, they added a 10% thing and it said servicio. There was no indication that this was a tip or that it was optional. We paid cash, and then they brought us change minus the tip that they had already included, which is also illegal. If this ever happens to you, if there's ever a line that says servicio or propina, don't leave more than that.
And you're not even required to leave that.
Yeah, you're not required to leave that. Don't leave more than that. In this case, it was 10%. We probably would have tipped more than 10% if they didn't do this, But nope, that's all they're getting from us.
And just like the situation with the taxis, we've also been told time and time again by Mexicans that it's a much different tipping culture than in the US. In the US, pretty much even if you get terrible service, you shouldn't leave less than like 10 or 15%. Here in Mexico, that's not the case. We've been told so many times that if it's bad service or if something went wrong or something like that, you are not obligated to leave a tip. You can leave nothing, and that's okay because that's the point of tipping. You're tipping the person for their service, their good service.
And 10% is standard in Mexico.
10% is standard in Mexico. Don't let anyone in Playa or anywhere else tell you that it's 20% or 25 or 15. 10% is standard all throughout Mexico. If there's one exception, we've been told that at especially nice, classy, fancy restaurants, sometimes it's expected to leave a little bit more. This next thing, we realized that this is something that could be an accident. I used to be a server and a bartender, so I understand sometimes things accidentally get added to the bill. Multiple servers are helping the same table, accidents happen, but because this happened at so many restaurants, we know it's not an accident. This is something that they just hope they'll get away with, so that you'll have to pay more and then tip more. But in the few circumstances, one in particular, there was nobody else in this restaurant. No one. No accidents could have happened here. But there were like a dozen servers just standing around and doing weird things in the restaurant. It took them a really, really long time to bring out the check after they were all huddled around it doing who knows what, and then a tecate ended up on the bill. It's not that much, so your average tourist might be like, oh, tecate, that must be a spice, or like extra ice, or nuggets, who even knows. But it's kind of ridiculous that this happens. Always be sure to look at your check, make sure you know exactly what's on there so you don't run into problems where you're paying more for stuff that you didn't receive.
And if something does come on there, once again, contest it.
Contest. Alrighty, we're not quite done yet, but if you're enjoying the information in this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to gong that bell so you get notified the next time we put out a new video. And now back to the list. Another trick that we experienced quite often during this trip was ordering something on the menu and then seeing a different price show up on the check. And now a lot of places will say, oh, well, that's an old menu, those are old prices. Well, I'm sorry, but that's illegal in Mexico. They're not allowed to do that. They have to list the actual price that they are going to charge you, taxes included. That's something to watch out for. Something that we would do to avoid getting scammed in this way is either take a picture of the menu, memorize the price that we were supposed to be paid, or ask them to leave a menu so that when we got the check, we could double check and look what it said on the menu and what was listed on the check.
One more thing was we went to this restaurant, once again advertising 2-for-1 margaritas, 2-for-1 house margaritas. Well, we took a look at their menu and we couldn't find the house margarita on the menu, only their specialty margaritas. And those were listed as 125 pesos. Well, we ordered the 2-for-1 house margaritas, which are obviously going to be cheaper than the specialty margaritas, right? The bill came and it was 150 pesos for
watered down, terrible flavor, no tequila, house margaritas.
Yeah, so once again, they get you in with a 2-for-1 special and then they screw you over. Avoid every place advertising these 2-for-1s.
I would like to mention that there are some places that advertise drink specials which didn't end up to be terrible. Like we went to Lido Beach Club and they had a 60 peso?
Yeah.
Drink of the day, and those were always great drinks with the appropriate amount of alcohol, nothing, no scams there. So I think it might just be these 2-for-1 deals that you have to look out for, but drink specials on like a one drink, that might be okay. Or maybe Lido Beach Club, you guys rock, and if you're the only ones who don't scam people.
And there were a few gems we found during our trip, and we're going to list all those down in the description below.
Alright, so how can you avoid getting scammed, falling into tourist traps, or getting taken advantage of? Well, starting at the airport, just say no gracias to anyone who wants to sell you something, and please make one of those to the taxi drivers that are trying to gouge you.
You might think, oh well, I'll just use Uber. Well, at the time we were there, in the entire state of Quintana Roo, there is no Uber operating whatsoever. If you open the app, they say we're out of service.
Next thing is, pay attention to the prices on the menu and don't let them tell you that you have to pay a different price. It is illegal. Just say no.
Just say no. Contest the bill and stand your ground. Don't let them push you around.
And what do you do if you feel like you've tried sticking up for yourself, you feel like you're getting screwed, maybe they're overcharging you for something, or something just isn't adding up, something that Mexicans have told us to do, again, time and time again, is threaten Profeco. This is a user or consumer rights agency that businesses are pretty terrified of, especially if they're doing something wrong.
They can get huge fines and even be shut down, and it happens all the time. So if you feel like you're being pushed around, as a last resort, you can tell them that you're going to contact Profeco, and you will see their attitude completely change.
We have never personally contacted Profeco for any issues that we've had, even in times where we've gotten severely screwed over or something bad has happened. However, thank you to our Tangerinis, our subscribers, who have taken the initiative to do that for us, because as foreigners, sometimes we feel like we don't have rights or it's hard for us to stick up for ourselves, especially with the language barrier. So that means a lot to us. It's a group effort to stop these things from happening. So on that note, if you feel like you got good information out of this, or somebody else might, share it with your friends, share it on Twitter, on Facebook, in your WhatsApp groups, because we want this information to be out there so that other people don't get taken advantage of in the ways that we have.
And so this behavior stops. This is not the behavior of Mexicans in general.
Yeah, this is not a representation of Mexico, and that's partially what infuriates us the most. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. We hope this helps you in any of your future travels to Mexico, specifically those areas. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to see more videos that we're putting out about our travels. Currently we are in Mexico, and one last thing. Gong that bell so you get notified when we put out our new videos.
And we'll see you there.